Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Gwe. A couple of days ago was April Fool's Day. You know, that day where we prank each other. Now I find pranks really, really funny. I'm not good at them. And so I don't really participate in the April Fool's traditions, especially of my family as the pranker. I get pranked from time to time, but I've also, anyway, I'm not good at pranks. My kids, however, they love it. And they love pranking me and my wife. But they have one prank and one prank only. Maybe this is to lull me into a sense of false confidence for next year, but every April Fool's Day, they offer me a coffee. Now, the first year I fell for it. I didn't fall for it since. My wife, on the other hand, she falls for it every year. And I mean it. Like, it's not like she does it because, oh, well, the kids think it's cute. I mean, she literally falls for this particular joke, this particular prank every year. The kids make coffee and they load it up with salt so that it's, I'm sure this has happened to you. Coffee with way too much salt. There were some really good pranks this year. In social media, there were some really, really good pranks. In the news, there were some really good pranks. One of those pranks was from a news outlet called the Western Standard. And the Western Standard, they wrote an article with a headline. And the headline was something along the lines of 8,000 kilometers of the Trans-Canada Highway. One lane of 8,000 kilometers of the Trans-Canada Highway is going to be repurposed as a bike lane and other human-powered modes of transportation. Now, when you read the article, it was a very well-written article because that's what makes it believable. And, they had this person and that person and this study and that study, and it was a great article. Well-written news article. And then you got to the very end of it and it said, oh, and by the way, happy April Fool's Day. So you felt like you were taken in. It was funny. It became a joke. It became something, oh my God, they really got me. Because you admire people who put a lot of work and a lot of detail into a prank. Right? And they did. But the headline was catchy. It grabbed you. Well, it grabbed one person, a person of standing and a person of a large international following. That headline, well, what they tweeted was, "This idiot country is sheathed in ice 7 months of the year, and the Trans-Canada Highway, an underdeveloped national disgrace, is 5,000 miles long. Is there nothing so stupid you won't do it, Justin Trudeau?" Now, the person who tweeted that was Dr. Jordan Peterson, Canadian psychologist. He's pretty adamant in his position with Trudeau. He doesn't really care for Justin Trudeau's policies all that much, at all. Borderline, I would say, well, he just really doesn't like Justin Trudeau's policies. So when he saw this headline, well, he got really angry. And if he had read the article, he would have seen that it's a joke. This tweet tells us that he didn't read the article. This tweet tells us that this was a reaction to a headline. And this reaction was fueled by rage, anger, and rage. Now, rage is that emotional state where we become so agitated, so angry, so filled with volatility that we just see red. We don't see things, we don't see people, we don't hear anything, we can't read anything, we don't really think, we can't think. Thinking is just turned off. All that matters is right now something needs to be destroyed. Now, 15,000 years ago, this was a really valuable gift. Rage was the thing that may have saved you from marauding hordes. Rage was the thing that would have help save you from a saber-toothed tiger or a bear or whatever other kind of nasty monsters that lurk in the darkness of that time. Rage is the thing that you rely on when no amount of thinking is going to get you out of a situation. And when you're unable to remove yourself from that situation, rage is that thing that takes over. Very ancient, very primal, very lizard brain kind of thing. Again, an incredible gift to humanity 15,000 years ago. But today it's something for us to be careful with. Today it's something that we need to be very leery of. It's something that we need to be very mindful of. It's something that we need to control. The Bible, over and over and over and over again, tells us to be careful with this emotional state. That we shouldn't allow it to take over. That we should be very, very aware of the dangers that it presents to us. One of my favorite books, the book of James. James says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Open your ears, shut your mouth, and do not blow your top every time something doesn't go your way. The book of Proverbs, another one of my favorites, written, tradition tells us, by a father for their son. The passing on of wisdom from one generation to the next. And it, too, tells us again and again and again the dangers of reacting with anger. It'll destroy you. It'll eat you up. It will ruin your reputation. It will give you a reputation you don't want. When we allow the intensity of rage to be our reaction to a situation that is displeasing to us. In this case, when we see a headline that bothers us, a headline that infuriates us, a headline that feeds our already developed judgment about some other situation, it has long-lasting implications upon us. It causes us and others a great deal of harm. It's funny because in the book of Proverbs, the author does warn their children, does warn the next generations, the generations to come, does warn you and I to be very, very careful with our anger. And also at the exact same time talks about us looking the fool. Rage and anger were great gifts to us. And in the right situation in our lives, they can be great gifts again. But they really should be behind glass, in a box, up on the wall, with a sign that says, break glass only in the event of a situation you cannot escape. Only in the event of a life and death situation. Break glass only when this is the absolute last option to stay alive. Apart from that, we have other wonderful gifts that have been given to us. We have the ability to listen, and we have the ability to empathize, and we have the ability to understand. We have the ability to think. We have this big lumpy piece of gray matter between our ears, in our skulls, that provide us with the ability of thought, give us an intellect. We can learn. We can study. Again, we can think. We are not just creatures of rage and anger. We are not just creatures of volatility. We are thinking creatures. We are experiential creatures. We are wise creatures. To guide us in our responses and reactions, let's be those thinking creatures. Let's be creatures of consideration. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that you and I would guard our tongues. And when it comes to social media, our thumbs. Let's be considerate creations. Let's be people of great thought, great understanding. Let's be people who respond as opposed to react. Let's be people who let go of our need to be volatile. Amen. Multus.